Hey, what's up, guys? Thank you so much for tuning back in to another episode of We the People. I am excited for two reasons. Number one is because right behind me is where the United States Constitution was written in Independence Hall in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Number two, because I'm here in Philly and I interviewed an amazing guy. His name is Quamiir Trice. He's an educator here in this city. He was born and raised here. His story was so inspiring to me that I had to fly all the way from Chicago to Philadelphia to hear it live. I hope that you enjoy it and hope that you are just as inspired as I was. Let's check it out.
My name is Quamiir Trice. I am a fourth grade teacher at Mary McLeod Bethune. I got an education, basically, why did I get an education? I think the question was, like, what could I do that would be impactful and adding value to others? So I was talking to one of my mentors at Community College of Philadelphia before I transferred to Howard University, and he let me know that he wakes up excited to come to work, and it wasn't about the paycheck. He knew that at the end of the night he was going to sleep and resting assured that he could contribute something each day. So that impacted me, that inspired me to really think deep about what it is that I'm going to be doing in terms of my career. Every day I walk in there and I have some kid getting smart with me, or like thinking that they know everything, or just not coming to school excited about learning. And that was definitely me. That was definitely me in fourth grade. I had a bunch of other problems going on at home, and the students that I'm dealing with now, they have a lot of issues. Their parents are not as active in their education, but they are very supportive. Like, they obviously want their kids to do well. Same thing in my life. I had my grandmother at the time who was very supportive, but really didn't know how to pour into me in terms of supporting me for my educational growth. I know I'm becoming that parent voice in the classroom, so they're like, oh my God, like, you're sounding like my mom or my dad, like constantly getting on me. Yeah. So I need to, like, I'm looking at ways that I can engage them in terms of bringing other people to come in to kind of speak around the same things I've been saying to them, but hearing it from a different voice, a different perspective, makes it a little more interesting and less redundant. So Philly was a big deal when I came back, because the superintendent of Philly school districts recruited me. I was at the White House meeting with President Barack Obama. I had a fireside chat with the former mayor, Mayor Nutter, and it had became like this really big deal to bring me back to Philly so I can begin my teaching career. And I didn't realize how big of a deal it was until I actually began in August, when they started interviewing me and telling my story to others. It started getting highlighted in the Daily News, on the front page of the Enquirer, and it was just really a lot of conversations around, having black male teachers inside the classroom and how important it was for our students that we have here in the school district. Philly is called the city of brotherly love, right? We have like one of the best skylines ever. Like, if you look at this city at night, it's beautiful. The people that I grew up with in my environment, in my community, it frustrates me at times, because I know that they have the same exact potential as I do, and probably more, only if they change the way they think. So I'm motivated to stay here and add value to my community and keep inspiring people. But I'm also frustrated because this city is known for great things, but it's not producing the way that it should. Like, growing up here was the best thing I can ever talk about to someone. Like, this was the biggest part of my story, Philadelphia, and I always wanted to come back here. I sold drugs here, I graduated college here, but most importantly, I'm here now giving back, and I'm teaching, and I have an opportunity to really add value to the city. The thing about mentorship is like having an investment in someone, right? And really giving them your all, and like not stopping when when that person makes a mistake. And I feel like that's what's happening inside of our schools and our classroom. Students can't make a mistake without, sort of suffering from like a severe consequence. And we need to have more of a forgiving environment, which is something that the President of the United States talked about, the 44th President, I should be clear, President Barack Obama. He talked about that. Growing up in a forgiving environment is something that separated him from other urban youth that come up and have similar stories like himself. So that's number one. Number two, I think it's really just having like that opportunity to be heard. You know what I mean? Like really just be heard. Like kids are so smart, and we don't appreciate it until it's too late sometimes. And that's the type of love and support that I feel like everyone needs when they're young. They need people to invest in them and know that they're the future. You know what I mean? They shouldn't have to suffer for what's going on in the past. A lot of the students that we have inside of our classroom are suffering from what happened in the past. Their parents couldn't provide a better life for them, so they're suffering. They're coming to school hungry. You know what I mean? Like these are some of the simple, basic issues that we need to find a way to address, to be honest. My little brother told me 2 days ago, he's like, what was the difference maker for you? He was like, you left where I was living at, and when I got locked up, I left that house where my grandma was raising me, and I moved with my grandparents, my other grandparents, my grandpa and my grandmother. Different structure, different environment. Mount Airy is a different area compared to the community I grew up in. So I had the opportunity to live there and see something different. I had the opportunity to see structure for the first time. I had the opportunity to just be a kid, like someone who's going to school, who's trying to just focus and execute a plan so that I can potentially be the future. If I was to still live there, I would still be responsible for bills. I still would be responsible for paying the taxes on the house, just trying to help out. But that could potentially slow me down in terms of my progression. I'm trying to become the future. I'm trying to start my own brand. I'm trying to write my own book. With that added stress causes a lot of issues and turmoil with the relationship between me and my grandmother. So once I was able to move with my grandparents, it felt like I was just a normal kid going to college. And that's totally different from having that constant stress, you are a provider, you are a student, and all these other things that come with my story. So I think that was the key. But when I woke up, I just changed the way I thought, bro. I was thinking to myself, okay, I'm locked up now. I tried this 1,000 times, right? I tried flipping it. I tried getting it in all types of different ways, but it was not working. If it's not working, it's not working. So I came to the conclusion, if something bad was to happen to me again, before I got locked up, right before I got locked up, I was like, if something bad happens while I'm on this journey of hustling, I am done. Because right before that, my grandma had found my crack in my house, and she threw it away. She quote unquote flushed it down the toilet. I don't know what happened to it, but it was so frustrating for me because I knew how hard I've been working and the type of discipline I had at the time. I wasn't going to the mall trying to cop the newest sneakers. I was saving my money. I was doing everything right, but it still wasn't working. So once I came to that conclusion, it's a reason why this isn't working. If it don't work again, you have to figure something else out. And it didn't. I got locked up. I got sent away. My little brother wrote me a letter, a very convincing letter. He said, bro, you are the only brother that I actually have that have my back. And what he really was saying to me was, you are the only person that can be an example for me. You are the only person that can lead me and give me advice. So I thought about that and I was like, wow, I have to change the way that I'm leading my little brother. I have to give him a better example. No one's perfect. Like, I didn't just change my life right away. Things started to happen that allowed me to change the way I was thinking. I met a mentor. My first mentor was at the juvenile facility that I was in. His name was Randy Logan. He used to play for the Philadelphia Eagles. And he was so humble. And that's what I needed. I needed somebody around me to show me how to be humble. I was like that kid that thought I was invincible because I was 15. I was getting to $1 on my own. Like, no one could tell me anything at the time. And it was so impactful, man. Like, just seeing the way he carried himself. He didn't have to say too much. He literally carried himself like totally different from anybody I had ever met in my life. So once I learned and studied him, I was able to transition over back to my community, even when I was still living with my grandma, and I had like a different way of thinking. I was so ready to like just transition and focus on what I wanted in life. I wanted to add value to people. I wanted to show my grandma that she could be proud of me for the good things that I was doing. And after that, man, it was like takeoff. I went down to DC on a cultural trip. The trip was like basically like a cultural enrichment tour of DC and how African Americans kind of like continue to fight for their freedom here in America. It kind of put me on a journey to learn more about my history. Like, wow, like all of these things, like all these great people came before me and, you know, did some amazing work, some heroic stuff. And I wanted to figure out, like, how can I get around like those type of people and that type of environment. And I was already thinking that it was like a perfect setup for going to Howard. Once we got to Howard, the first building I saw was Frederick Douglass Hall. I'm like, wow, Frederick Douglass was a trustee here, the tour guide said. I said, what? The flagpole, Dr. Martin Luther King spoke there. W.E.B. Du Bois spoke here. I got his book from the bookstore, and Stokely Carmichael spoke here. He went there. It was like, what in the world, like, is this place? Like, why is this place so great? Why is this place pushing out so many great leaders? And I'm like, man, like, I need to figure out, like, why this place is so great. So the last thing that we saw or had the opportunity to kind of like peek our head in was the Harvard versus Howard debate. And I'm just like, what? Like, these are like, I'm thinking, you know, once you hear Harvard, growing up in the inner city, you like, oh my God, Harvard, this is the best school ever. And they're debating them, Howard is debating them. This is black people. I'm watching people on this campus look like me. And they're taking on this quote unquote great school. So it put me in that mind frame to really like think about going there, and like I wanted to be there. I told everybody I left my heart at Howard. I have to go back and get it. And when I found out obviously how much it cost, it was like, maybe I can't go to Howard. Maybe I gotta go somewhere else. But it ended up being an opportunity for me to trust God and believe that, you know, whatever, you know, God has for me is gonna be for me. I'm gonna get it. So I had an opportunity to attend a workshop. I think it was called Failing Forward, and like really just changing our perspective on how we see failures. Failures are growth opportunities. So it's kind of like a blessing in disguise that I have so many failures, because I can really relate to so many people, and the people that hear me speak are all being touched in one way or another, because I can talk about, you know, having shortcomings in school, talk about having shortcomings out here on the streets, shortcomings with my family, and you know, these are like typical things that people go through. Maybe not in as much of abundance as I went through. Like, I don't know exactly why God put me through so many issues, but clearly it's to be able to just, you know, add value to other people and impact people's lives. I've really noticed that like my life has purpose, and the purpose was made clear to me when I was away in juvie and my best friend, who I used to hang with all the time, got killed. And I knew for a fact, like, had I not been away, I would have been right there, or if not, I would have been on a revenge mission to kill his killer. And the things that I think about now are like, my failures are setting me up for success. My failures are the reason why I'm successful. Like, I learn from my mistakes, and that's the key. I didn't make the same mistakes over and over again. I learned from them. I was able to make the mistake and get the lesson out of the mistake so that I can share it with other people. So 5-10 years from now, I see myself running my own school, meaning leading my own school, and having at least 10 testimonial stories from other young people that were in similar situations as I was, explaining to the rest of the world how I was able to support them, how like we really have found the keys and tools to changing young people's lives all over the world, all over the country. So I'm really looking forward to starting this work in terms of like really pushing the message of like changing the way we think and just doing and executing the things that we want in our future right now. Like, we need to start, if you want to be an author in the future, you need to start writing your book right now. If you want to, be a doctor in the future, you need to start studying for that stuff right now. You need to start practicing. You need to go hang with some of these people and let them be your mentor right now. So that's some of the things that I'm excited about, and just bringing like a new perspective to education, really. Thank you so much, Derek. For real, like, great questions, great interview, man, great energy. And thank you for traveling to Philly, bro. Like, there's no way I don't think I was gonna be able to get to Chicago anytime soon, bro. Thank you.